Tuesday and every Thursday.
Hey,
Tap in.
Is this thing on? Can you hear me?
Roy
Is anybody out there?
Is the spot to be, baby.
Hey, tune in. It's the hottest show, homie, on the West Coast. The Roy Anthony Show. It's the hottest show, homie, on the West Coast. The Roy Anthony Show. It's the hottest show, homie, on the West Coast. The Roy Anthony Show. And it's featuring the homie Big Hank. And
Cynthia Joi.
It's the hottest show, homie, on the West Coast. The Roy Anthony Show. It's the hottest show, homie, on the West Coast. The Roy Anthony Show. It's the hottest show, homie, on the West Coast. The Roy Anthony Show. And it's featuring the co-host Big Hank
And Cynthia Joi.
It's the hottest show, homie, on the West Coast. Everybody tune in, you dig it? It's funny as hell, my dude. It's when we can kick it.
Every Tuesday.
Everything is going
Every
down.
Thursday.
They about to do the most. It ain't a confrontation, it's a conversation, homie. Yo, on the weekends, the Roy Anthony
Every
Show.
Tuesday.
It's the week, homie. The Roy
Every
Anthony
Thursday.
Show. What you listening to? The Roy Anthony Show. Come on and get a
Tap
call
in.
before we gotta
Tap
go.
in.
What you listening to? The Roy Anthony
Every
Show. Come on
Tuesday.
and kick it with us. The Roy Anthony
Every
Show.
Thursday.
It's going down, homeboy. The Roy Anthony Show.
Tap in.
Big Hank. We getting it. What you think? It's the hottest show, homie, on the West Coast. The Roy Anthony Show. It's the hottest show, homie, on the West Coast. The Roy Anthony Show. It's the hottest show, homie, on the West Coast. The Roy Anthony Show. And it's featuring the homie Big Hank.
And Cynthia Joi.
It's the hottest show, homie, on the West Coast. The Roy Anthony Show. It's the hottest show, homie, on the West Coast. The Roy Anthony Show. It's the hottest show, homie, on the West Coast. The Roy Anthony Show. And it's featuring the co-host Big Hank.
And Cynthia Joi.
What it do? What it do? What it do? You know, usually we cut the video off more sooner and everything, but we just revised it. Wanted to bring out something new for the start of the 6th season. I am Roy Anthony. Welcome to the Roy Anthony Show. We have a very, very sharp show. My guests will be coming in. My co-stars ain't my guests. Let me say my co-stars will be coming in. Big Hank, Cynthia Joi. Big Hank always does something for the Lord at the church. Then he'll be showing in, and then Cynthia Joi, she'll be popping in pretty soon. CEO to Richie King, who's one of our special guests today. Christina Carter, I see you. What's good with you? This is Roy Anthony. This is the Roy Anthony Show with my co-star Cynthia Joi Big Hank. And we come off the platform of the Woe Entertainment. And the Woe Entertainment, which was created by Richie King, aka Redneck Pimp, you know, because I'm a professional stand-up comedian. He's a stand-up comedian. But we took this platform, which I'm on, was first to bring awareness to how our veterans commit suicide on a daily basis. The daily rate is almost like 44 deaths per day of suicide. And so when it brought the awareness to me, because I'm always performing for veterans, even though I'm a general public person because of certain politics, but I've always honored the veterans. You know, when you putting your life on the line for something that we believe in. Now, countless veterans I have encountered have gone through where trying to, in this society, and so sometimes you come back with depression, because the biggest factor of committing suicide is depression. And so then we found that teenagers was committing suicides at a daily rate of 22 per day. And it was like, okay, depression leads to sometimes people are not being understood. The Woe Entertainment, which was to bring awareness to our veterans that commit suicide. Like I said, Richie King, aka Redneck Pimp, along with his co-creator Goose, and then our associate producer Blue Phoenix, and along with Athens, and then we have our sponsor Matthew Brooks, along with our good neighbors who I've always give them shout out all the time, which is BV Nation. That's the Backwoods Veterans based out of Oregon. Then I always bring up the VRS, and that's one of our special guests today from the Veteran Radio Syndicate. The president himself is in the house, Mr. George Pardos. My co-star's in the house. I have to bring her in and stuff right away. Miss Cynthia Joi.
Hey, what it do?
Yeah, did you see that title? Did you hear the title run?
I actually didn't, because I had a situation with my son. He's sick, so
okay.
Stuff. That's why I was late. But I'm in here, baby. How you doing?
Yes. And we have some special guests. This is the start of our 6th season. Those who just now jumping in or seeing us for the first time, we're not new to this. We're true to this. Like I stated, we come from the platform of the Woe Entertainment. We prided ourselves on taking conversations that people probably have a problem, and I was just hitting on this, that causes depression. Depression causes suicide. When you feel like this life doesn't matter no more, I can't fit in. Sometimes it's a conversation. Now, do we agree all the time? No. That's why we say it's not a confrontation, it's a conversation. And before I start bringing in our special guests, because we're going to talk on this subject about the 5 police officers that killed this man down in Memphis, Tennessee. And we have veterans that has served, and they even shake their heads at this because they are trained. And I'm gonna let them do talk, because Richie King is a special guest today.
Okay.
The producer and creator of WO. That's why I want to build it up. He was able to bring in the president of the VRS. I'm always giving the Veteran Radio Syndicate a shout out. The president himself said, I'm gonna come on the Roy Anthony Show and we're gonna talk on this. And everyone knows that our show is not based on a confrontation. It's a conversation. Sometimes me and Richie, we bump heads on certain things. But I listen to him, because at the end of the day, sometimes you ever be laying back and you thinking about what was that conversation you had, and all of a sudden you reflect on something you said. You feel me? And that's called empathy. And before we bring in our guests, I want people to understand, I'm not into race, politics, none of that. I'm into humanity. This ain't we ain't Dr. Frankenstein creating them. You can just put a human together. Let's bring in our special guest. So we're gonna bring in Richie first, because Richie knows Mr. George Pardos a lot better than I do, and I want to, show him the honor. So wait a minute, we got to bring in our other co-star, Big Hank. Hold up, Richie. Big Hank is in the house.
Hold up.
Yeah.
Hey, man. What's happening, man? We back, y'all. Yeah, we back.
We back.
You doing?
6th season.
What's happening? What's up, Joy? How you doing, Joy? What's up, Roy Anthony?
Baby, how
you got it, Big Hank.
Yes, sir.
And y'all know, man, I started this year on Raw. I ain't talking like I was last year.
All right, then. All right, then. All right, then.
Up. Y'all don't pay attention to this background studio, because some stuff is working. And getting patience is mud. And when you start getting right with your foundation and stuff,
I want to say one thing too, that I like Cynthia Joi do hairdo, man. I like that thing, man. I like that thing.
Yeah.
I like that thing.
It's a new attitude.
A little switch up on them.
That's right.
I see you.
Now, like we know, even though we're all, me and Big Hank is professional comedians, Richie King, he's a professional comedian, but sometimes this is how us comedians and artists. Cynthia Joy is a author. We're going to
Mm-hmm.
be on her book. Um, we're on the first part is news. Anybody who's paying attention, the first part we do is news. We have two special guests in the house, Big Hank, which I was just about to introduce them, but we have to bring in our co-stars. It's not me without them. It's not,
Yes,
and so we have Richie King, who's the producer and creator of the WO, and he brought in the president of the VRS. You know, I'm always talking about the Veteran Radio Syndicate.
Right.
And the president is coming,
president,
and we're going to discuss.
The president of VRS is on our show.
President.
Man, you got to be kidding, man. You
not the guy who hosts, who stands in the back with the white gloves and white gloves.
We got the president. The main man. Yes, sir.
Yeah. And we're going to talk upon like what happened down there in Memphis. So I'm not going to hold him up any more longer and stuff. I'm going to bring in Richie King first.
Are they? Hey, Roy, are they actually in Memphis?
No. Richie is in Cameron, Missouri.
Okay, all right.
Well, I want to quote one of my favorite comedians, Cat Williams. Hold up, wait a minute.
All right.
Put some pimping in it. Okay.
Put some pimping in it. Put some pimping in it there. Put some pimping in it.
Hey man, thank you all for having me on. Appreciate it, man. You guys are looking good. Look at y'all, huh? Some good looking guys. Right. I mean, you know, I got to redneck it up a little bit here, okay? Yeah. Unshaven beard. Look at all that gray.
Oh man, you just be yourself, man.
Yeah.
That's what I appreciate.
I'm proud to bring on a guy. We started advertising on his platform this year, full time. I've known him for 6-7 years now, I think it is. He's a very intelligent man. He's the owner, president of the Veterans Radio Syndicate, and he's also my friend. I do a sports church on his network every Sunday at 6 o'clock Central. So, guys, without further ado, please welcome our friend of the show today, and he's going to be yours too, Mr. George Pardos. George, you hear us?
George Pardos.
Hold on.
President George Pardos.
Right.
Huh. He keeps going off.
Hey, you do it because I was trying to bring him in. Were you bringing him in?
Yeah, hang on.
Okay.
All right. Now, George, can you hear us?
I can hear you 5x5.
All right, brother. Hey, welcome to the Roy Anthony Show. Roy Anthony, he's the man on here. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Memphis thing, if you don't mind.
Not at all. I want to say one thing before we get started on talking about this. Roy and Hank, I appreciate you guys for the shout out. And I want to say thank you for doing the comedy. One thing, I wanted to be a comedian when I was growing up, but one thing stopped me was talent. And so actually I wanted to be a rock star, but one of the other things that stopped me was lack of musical talent itself.
Yeah, that's hard to do. That's hard to do. Be a musician without musical talent.
Yeah. So, but in all honesty, you know, I think I don't know why my cam is. I don't know why it's not working, but this is the best.
I thought you was under witness protection or something. I was like, Mr. Pardos cannot be seen.
I was like, he really is the president. He don't even want to be seen or nothing. Yeah,
there's no way I can put the cam on because I don't have it synced. But I will say this: the best things that we can do, you know, we're all veterans here, is have an honest debate about things, because one of the problems that I think that it's lacking in the environment is that we don't have honest debates. And here's the thing. I don't know your background, Roy, Hank, Cynthia, but we all come from, let's say, diverse backgrounds, and we can all sit here and have not a debate, but have an honest, you know,
discussion,
conversation.
Yeah.
And we at VRS, we reach about 1 million to 2 million people a month, depending.
Wow.
What we try to do is we try to say, hey, listen, you know, sometimes it's important to have a good message, but sometimes, you know what, if you have an open debate where people can talk to each other, That's all that matters sometimes.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
Mr. George, I want to say this to you. I myself is not a veteran. I just always support and respect all.
If you're supporting veterans, you know, you're still in the same class. You don't necessarily have to
Yeah.
be in it.
Because you can believe if it was Independence Day, I'm doing my part. You feel me? No, I'm serious. I'm doing my part. There's political situations that cause us. Well, I know myself. You know, it wouldn't let me join the military. And it was certain. I did the selective service. You feel me? And
Everybody, you know what, Roy? Let me take this. You know, I've had guys that we have. Here's the thing: me and Richie go round and round about this all the time. Not, you know, there are people I went to boot camp with that didn't make it out.
Yeah.
There are people that, you know, there are guys that that have tried, and you know, every era of the military makes you jump through hoops that other eras don't have to deal with.
Mhm.
And so I don't begrudge, you know, I'm not one of these, you know, bro vet, and me and Richie have had this, the bro vets that, oh, you know, you're supporting me. Well, you never served. Did you serve? Oh, no. Everybody has their own calling. You know what I mean?
yes.
And
Now,
so, and going back, I want to say something that I don't know if you're familiar with Hank and Roy. We did a show a while back with Odad Records about Mario Woods. And if you're not familiar with that case, we did a show with Odad Records is a 80s rapper, and he was on the Mario Woods, and this is what led to Colin Kaepernick to kneel. So Mario Woods was a young man in San Francisco that was shot by the police. And the problem has been in America, and you know, we want to get right to the thing, is that we police different in different states. Every state doesn't police the same. Now, I used to be a military policeman. I worked for DynCorp. I teach a dynamic force class on tactics, you know, retention tactics, weapons, and the like. And we're partnering with Beretta in the spring to do a class for them. And the one thing is, not every state police is the same. I don't know where you're at, Roy. I don't know where you're at, Hank. I mean, I see that Long Beach. You know, maybe you're California, but California takes 465 hours to become a police officer. That's less than it takes time to become a Marine.
Yeah, that's right.
Man, look.
Yeah.
What you just saying, George, I was just about to ask this too. Now, one of the things that, because every family that I know on the roots of my tree has fought in every single war, even before the Revolutionary War, the Macon Revolution of 1661. That's for real. That's all. And what I was taught by soldiers is like when you go to a village and you had to deal, you got enemies mixed in with pedestrians. You do not kill them. And to my understanding, if a person just goes out shooting, a soldier shooting at general public people, then they get court-martialed.
They do. And the one thing that nobody is bringing up in this situation with Tyree is that his girlfriend, the girl that he was dating, was one of the girlfriends of the police officer, and the police officer, the one that got indicted, sent a picture of Tyree laying down in a pool of blood to the girl after he had beat her up. Now that doesn't come out. That hasn't came out like publicly.
Yeah, I found you know, I got some deep resources, right? And I seen that, and it was still known if it was going to be true or not, right? But what I'm constantly saying this now, and we all know the story of, you know, anybody who's unaware, you had to been hidden under a rock about 5 black Memphis police officers that beat this young black man to death. Now, let me ask you, in the military, you was a military police, Mr. George, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, in the military, it seemed like you dealing with everybody who got guns.
Yeah.
Who did you have to kill?
Our enemies.
None of your own.
None of my guys. I mean, I pulled over Delta. I pulled over SF. I pulled over SEALs. I never had to go, the only time I've ever had to shoot at anybody was in Somalia and Kosovo. I never had to shoot domestically, and I pulled over trained killers.
Hey, wait a minute. That's what I'm about to ask you. When they reaching, you ain't thinking they reach for their gun because you know they got the gun. You have to feel like they're not reaching for a gun.
Right. And the problem is that one of the things I'm going to say this is, and this came up a while back, and so one of the things that they talk about is how a couple of so I want to pull one in particular. In South Carolina, we had the church shooting, and the young man that, I don't want to say his name because I don't give more notoriety, but let's just put it this way. He was arrested without incident. They took him to Burger King. They brought him in. But
they brought him something to eat.
Yeah, I remember that.
But they brought him in without shooting him. Now, people are saying, well, how can they bring him in? Here's the difference. When CRT brought him in, not a regular patrol officer. Now, CRT is what they call the crisis response team. And those officers are better trained.
Yes.
SWAT is better trained. And so when you have officers that are coming in that are better trained, you don't necessarily shoot or hurt the suspects.
But see, you know what? And this is one of the things that I've been stating. Someone asked me, would I defund the police? I said, hell no. That's like a purge or something. My thing is, use this money instead of militarizing yourself for your fellow citizens, because they're not going to Somalia. Why not use that money to get an associate's arts degree to be able to require class, humanity, sociology, psychology, understanding? You know what? Don't put me in where I know something's going to flip up. I think that you need to, some of these major cities might need to go through, like, say, for instance, they plant like a house that's in the hood with certain different guys, whatever, and they got the metal thing on it. He think he's using a real gun, but it's really a laser. He doesn't know that. That's a stimulation for their bus, because sometimes, George, they take these guys that never lived in areas where they got blacks, like you see me, Big Hank, Cynthia, and we're intelligent, but you seen us just hanging out. Big Hank got a hoodie, I got a windbreaker with a gold chain. The persona is looked at totally different. Now, let me ask you a question. Do you think that these 5 black police officers in Memphis would have did that to a white guy?
Yeah.
I agree.
The one officer had, and I'm just going off of what I've seen on the news.
Yes.
And I'm saying he had 2. Hey, Richie, I think you're the one that posted it, or was it Justin, that the one police officer had 2 prior complaints about his force, and both of those were against white guys.
Yep. I did.
I wanted to ask. I just wanted to ask. I wanted to make state a question. So President Pardos, you're saying that if we have better training, we'll have better results, correct?
Yes.
Now, if we know this, how come we haven't done this already? Explain that to me.
Well, because one of it is money. May I ask where you call home? Do you mind me asking?
I'm in Long Beach, California.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was stationed in Camp Pendleton.
Okay.
So if you go up Pacific Coast Highway, if you go to Long Beach,
yeah.
Long Beach has got some terrorists.
Yeah.
Degenerates. Let's just call them what I should call them terrorists. There's some just degenerates. You go to Seal Beach, they've got degenerates. Every area is going to be policed different. Now, if you go to Compton, let me ask you this. You're wearing blue. You can't wear that in Compton, right?
In the right area, you can.
In the right,
Yeah, you better not
In the
go.
right area, in the Crip part, you can go
Yeah,
where
don't
blue.
go to-
And in the blood part, you can go. Now, what's the trip about
Not-
Compton? They got Bloods and Crips. In Long
Yeah.
Beach, we only got Crips.
Cops.
That's why I got on blue. I live in Long Beach. They
Yeah.
only got Crips in Long Beach. But in Compton, you got Bloods and Crips. So
Yeah.
you got to pick your pick your poison, whichever one you do.
Because I'm Long Beach and Kansas City, Kansas as well, George. I'm
Oh,
back forward.
Or President Pardos, or either you buy you a whole bunch of brown clothes, one or the other.
You can't
You know
go
what I mean?
across the Fairmont if you got too much brown.
Right.
the point that I'm saying is, Cynthia, may I ask where you're located? I'm in Columbus, Ohio, so I'm just asking as a point of reference.
I'm located in Colorado Springs.
Okay, yeah. So in certain areas, you have to police different. So if you go to areas that are, for example, one of the things you brought in, you're pointing out was an interview about black men are more likely to be shot. That's some people argue about that, some people don't. Different areas have different crimes, and so you can't police the same. So if you think about this, if you take poor people, it doesn't matter whether they're black or white, they commit the same crimes. And in certain neighborhoods, you have what they call Mesopotamia. So you've got white guys in Southern Ohio making meth. Well, so you have to police different. In other cities, you have, for example, if you go to Baltimore, you have a lot more carjackings. If you go to Compton, Long Beach, Seal Beach, Cerritos in California, the crime is different. So part of it is you're training people for crimes and thinking that they can police the same.
But George, how?
But shouldn't the training be the same around the board? Like initially, I'm from Chicago, so they police different than they do in Colorado.
Oh,
But if the training is the same all the way around the board,
now
It can't. It won't fit. It won't fit because
let me ask you this.
it's like putting a square peg in a round hole. The square peg might be dangerous and a round hole might be dangerous, but they won't go together. Okay. Some people have a lot more human trafficking in that area. All right, you got to police them way different. They need to, then you got people write bad checks. You got people that you can't storm their house for every little thing.
I'm hearing y'all. I'm hearing you saying the police different. I'm getting the understanding on that.
Uh-huh.
But when I say police differently, are you saying, well, in this neighborhood you got to whoop some ass?
sound like it.
Over here,
No,
you
the
can
crime.
kind of be intellectual with them.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it,
Yeah.
I mean, policing is fighting against crime. Not saying, I'm just saying from me talking,
Well,
this conversation.
for example,
If
I
you say
have 4
police
kids.
different, it sounds like I'm saying is, well, I'm sorry, I'm missing a lot of comments. People been
That's okay.
coming in.
For example,
Oh,
I got 4 children. Okay, my oldest daughter, I got to lead her by the hand when I teach her something. My second daughter, she's a genius. I can't even talk to her. She's too damn smart. She figures things out. My third child, my son, I got to get aggressive with him. He's an aggressive kid. I got to be aggressive. I got to, And my other son, you got to kind of tell him what the consequences are of his actions and kind of milk him along, but kind of get harder.
You know what? And that
I'm still their dad.
That sounds
dad,
like
but-
equality, though, because you're giving each one accordingly as an individual.
Yeah,
But
you can
for
call whatever you
kids,
want, but I can't
saying,
parent them all the
well,
same
when
way.
you're stopped for them telling me, President Pardos, Rich King, there's been commonalities of driving while black.
Yes.
Where here it is, like in the modern, this blew my mind. In modern society, 21st century, there's still parts of Texas or something where they call sundown.
Yeah.
And I said,
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah.
what's a sundown city? Where blacks can't be out. And I'm like, well,
At
wait a
nighttime,
minute.
yeah.
Are the police different than that? We accept that you can't be out here, there, boy.
Better get your ass up out of here.
But think about this for a
And
second.
that's crazy, and that's why the rules need to apply around the board, no matter what. Like, even though you parent your children different, you still make them follow the same rules. So it should be the same thing when it comes to these officers.
Well,
Everybody should follow the same rules.
Cynthia, let me give you a prime example. Okay, me and Richie are very we're Second Amendment advocates.
Okay.
Because I think in a free country you need to own guns. Here's where I differ. I don't think you should be able to open carry and have open carry all over the U.S. I don't want to go downtown to Rush Street in Chicago carrying an AR-15 open in the middle of Rush Street. I just don't. And I don't want to be in the downtown Manhattan going and carrying an open carry. Now, if you go to Chandler, I've been to three cities in the U.S. where it's the most open carry cities. Chandler, Arizona is one, because everybody's strapped. They got something on their hip. There's a place in Wyoming, Fargo, North Dakota. I've seen people go out and you walk up and down the street and they got a holster on their side. And Jackson Hole is where I was thinking about.
Yeah.
You have places where people open carry. I don't want the same laws going down to Miami Beach where you have tourists walking down having an AR-15 in the open. It's the same thing. Do I want to go down to Manhattan Beach or to carrying an AR-15? You've got to police different because different parts of our country act different. If you drive 85 miles an hour on the Eisenhower, what's going to happen? You're going to crash into somebody. You drive 85 miles an hour in Laredo, Texas, you're going to drive for 8 hours and still be in Texas.
Yeah, but wait a minute. But all these areas that you stated, some of the areas, why is it that there's killings of someone reaching for a cell phone in some of these areas?
That's because they're not trained properly.
A double standard.
They're not trained properly.
They're not trained properly. Cynthia's talking about same laws.
Wait a minute.
Just true.
Cynthia
I'm talking about
said
same training around the board.
Cynthia said something about, even though, and I understand it, as you're saying that different cities or different scenarios was built up, but there's some outcomes that happens the same around the board, where here's a black,
right,
and you can carry, but he's reaching over his paper, and this dude is actually thinking he's grabbing a gun. I'm grabbing my cell phone. What are you Roy for? I was just going to play my harmonica because I thought I could play a song for you, so I could get. But he shot me because I was reaching for my harmonica.
The problem is that you have. One of the problems is that you have is if you're, the custodians.
Reaching while black. That's the problem.
Here is the biggest problem.
That's the problem when you reaching when you black.
Hey, Mr. George.
One of the
President George. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Let me say this. One of the problems is that you have is that there's no standard of training for a car stop. So, for example, in the military, I'll just give you an example. I'm going to use me as an example. I'm not going to use anybody else. In the military, you don't put very rarely do you have one NP going out by themselves.
Right.
It's a two-man team. Any base you go to, it's always a two-man team. Now, when you go to the car, you do what's called you split the wedge.
Mm-hmm.
And one approaches the car door, the other one. And the problem that you have with a lot of officers is they're made to enforce laws that are shitty laws in order for revenue. And so, for example, let me show you Cynthia about this. The city of Chicago has police officers enforcing parking tickets for the bank that they sold the parking tickets to for the next 50 years. Think about that for a second.
Yeah, it sounds like I
They
knew
worried
there
about
was
the wrong
something going
thing.
on.
I mean, it sounds like they worried about the wrong things. Everything's revolving around money, and we need psychological training because there's fear underneath all of that.
Well, I
Fear
feel
is
like
all of
police.
it.
Why do we need police for traffic stops that's causing murder? Who are you thinking you stopping when you a traffic stop? You think you got El Chapo? Or who are you stopping? Remember in that movie SWAT, and they thought they had the biggest terrorists? Who are you stopping on a traffic stop?
I just told you.
President Pardos has just stated
They're
he
raising
has-
revenue for the department, and so what we've done is we've had
I'm
civil.
saying that these police officers are killing people on a traffic stop. That is not raising no revenue.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, absolutely is.
Absolutely is.
What?
That's crazy.
Think about it. Think about
That's
all the money, the publicity, all the money in courts, everything.
Are y'all
all
sure
the,
y'all
all that
supposed to
money?
be telling us this? Because I got a feeling that I'm gonna go out and have
Hey,
3
look.
dots on my chest.
Hey, we're veterans. We're gonna tell you the truth. Have I ever lied to you, Roy?
No, you haven't.
No,
This is news. This is news to me.
Think about it. Why is it every cop? Here's a homework assignment, and I guarantee you, George will agree with me on this too. You can take 3 cops. You could ask them 3 same questions and get 9 different answers. Why? Because they're not trained. They're not trained. They don't know what the hell they're talking
Well,
about.
it seemed like these 5 guys down here was trained enough to block their cameras enough.
But they weren't smart. They might have been trained, but they weren't smart enough to figure out to get a street camera.
What gets me, Rodney King was a shock to everybody because that was the first time cell phones was able to come out and film.
Mm-hmm.
When Richard Pryor even them said, if you're a fan of Richard Pryor,
they've been doing this for years.
Yeah. Why were you surprised?
Before, we could only go by his illustration, and those who actually lived in them neighborhoods understood what Richard Pryor was saying. That's why it was funny.
Yeah.
He said in Long Beach, been in
Yeah.
Long Beach, he said
you
Long Beach police put a whooping on your ass.
Yeah.
He said they be like, is it legal to break a nigga? That's just what he said.
and he said when you be in Long Beach, you be calling your people. They said, "Where you at, man?" He said, "I'm in Long Beach." He said, "Shit, we ain't coming down there to get your ass."
You better walk.
Look. Now, I go across the United States.
Yeah.
It's President Party because I am a professional comic. I have and I'm a lie to you not. I've been in some areas, and I've never encountered the racism except from what I get from the media. But the police has been standard everywhere I've been. They have not adapted that when I'm out of Los Angeles. I'm down here. Now I'm going to go to Kansas City, Kansas. Guess what I do? I mind my P's and Q's even more.
Mm-hmm.
I'm coming through Arizona with my daughter. The police stopped me. Said I was going 2 miles over the limit. So when he ran my license and everything, he was like, okay, after I got myself, I was free to go because the computer didn't give me a ticket. He said, "You sure you're not carrying drugs for a child?" And I said, "Why would you say stuff like that?" Now, see, then my response, because ego sometimes, but when we say different in policing, these guys is in Memphis. Now, they had a group called the Scorpions. That's why we had the picture. The Scorpions was a unit. Now, I'm gonna share something with you. This is their actual meaning of what Scorpions. Now, this is a police unit, and I don't know how. I don't want them in Los Angeles. LAPD is bad enough, but I sure don't want.
They got a whole lot of gangs. They got a whole lot of gangs in them in the LA Police Department. Scorpion,
which stands for, this is Memphis, Street Crime Operation to Restore Peace in Our Neighborhoods.
What?
That was the 5.
So we're gonna beat you into submission and make sure you don't do nothing wrong.
And they bring the power. They got 50 of them. They're bringing numbers.
Now, I'm gonna tell everybody. I'm gonna take this part right here. Now we have segments. We had segments broken down, but we know we have the President Pardos in, and so we're gonna leave that and keep it with Mr. George Pardos, if you don't
Yes,
mind.
sir.
But something I want to say this, man. Dean Cerny said, "What it do? Welcome back. Thanks, Dean. Vet.
Dean.
Thanks for joining."
Dean.
Hey, let me tell you something. Here it is. When I heard the story about these police, I thought it was capturing the end parts of a story of Jesus being crucified. Now, my thing is, they prided themselves. I seen one of the three medics that came in there, and I said to myself, and I seen the funeral, and it was one thing that really disgusted me, and I'm just going to put this out there. Al Sharpton did his thing as usual and stuff. Yeah. But when Vice President Kamala Harris got up there and spoke, man, spoke to the people. Man, because she was the Attorney General, and you talking about policing differently, President Pardo. She was the Attorney General of California when Oscar Grant was handcuffed, laying on his stomach at the Brookville station, and shot that young man in the back of his head. I don't know what type of police training that he had.
Well, because he thought he was getting a taser.
She did not persecute him. But what she has done is turned her back on a lot of blacks that's in prison for evidence that she turned away from, even when she's caught. I just don't like hypocrisy.
I don't like it either. Here's one of the issues, Roy, and I'll say this.
Yes.
Okay. And one of the problems that you have, and this is across the board, and I've made this part of it. You have civil seizure, and I'm going to bring you up on a number.
Yes.
You take every burglary in the United States, add them all together, in 2021. In 2021, every burglary across the United States, every home that was broken into, every burglary combined, is not as much as the United States of America's police have taken from private citizens without trial.
Will you say that again? Say that one more time, President. The president.
Take every burglary, the monetary value of every burglary in the United States, every time that somebody broke into a home, broke into a car, add them all up together, and it is less value than what the police departments across the United States have taken from citizens in civil seizure.
Now, did
you know that?
No, I did not. That's two things you have taught me.
Yes.
The issue is that if you have, one of the things that they've done with civil seizure is, if you're carrying large money, you fit a profile and any of that, they grab your money because it's money laundering, right?
Yep.
Then but what they fail to realize, or what they fail to then come up with, is the fact is that the police are now using our citizens as ATM machines. So in the state of Ohio, I don't, like you said, I'm just going off of the people I know. There's a thing called ODOT, Ohio Department of Transportation, and they have DOT, which is Department of Transportation, that stops vehicles for violations. They get to $275 and they stop. Brake light out, okay. This out, you don't have your running lights on. This. They get to $275, they give you a ticket, and they go on. You know why? Because it's over $275, people will fight it. If it's under $275, most truckers will pay it, and they go about their business. So what we've done is we have then used money from citizens to fund the candy for departments. And so here's how.
So the police are committing crimes they actually committing crimes.
Absolutely.
To I guess stabilize the department. That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
That's great.
See, my thing is this: if
And-
y'all was military police and veterans,
Let me say,
and you could be,
let me say, I want to say something to Hank.
yeah.
All right, because and may I ask, Roy, what do you call home? May I ask? What state?
Roy.
Oh, California and Kansas City, Kansas.
Okay.
I was born in Los Angeles.
All right. Do you ever? Okay, I'm going to bring something up just because you guys are old enough to do. There's a book that came out. It's called The Green Book. You remember that?
The
Yeah,
Green,
they made a movie of that.
Yeah.
the Green Book.
Yeah.
Yes.
My grandfather had one.
In the Black community, there's two things that are prevalent, and one of them is most Black people do not donate their organs. That is a Black community thing. They don't donate their organs, and there's a reason for that, which is part of that people don't they don't trust the system. But number two, in the South, they used to pay with the smallest amount possible because they would not give them their money back for change. So what the Green Book was, it would have Black friendly operations or Black friendly places you could go buy. So if you gave them $1 for gas, they might not give you a change. If you gave them 50 cents or 75 cents, they would give you the gas and move on. So the problem is, in the Black community, it was very prevalent to keep cash on you and not to put it into a financial institution. That is something that is very prevalent.
Well, they learned that also in the Tulsa massacre of the Black.
Shit. If every time you put your money in the bank, they burnt it down, or somebody just took your money and said wasn't nothing in here.
Yeah.
I stopped doing it too.
Yeah, and then so one of the things that happened is Yo Gotti, if you guys are familiar with the rapper, Yo Gotti funded his own record label from his own money because he didn't trust the investment bankers.
Mm-hmm.
So in the Black community, it was very prevalent to have what they call handlers. And I'm going to give you a prime example. Bumpy Johnson, who ran the number with Doug Schultz and all that. They had handlers that were like private bankers on the street.
Mm-hmm.
You'll give them a marker, they would give you cash, right?
Mhm.
I don't know what you guys call them in California, but in the Midwest, we call them handlers. So if you knew somebody, it was basically not a loan shark, but a guy you would go to. We called him Uncle Charlie. We would go to him. If you're in the community and they knew you, you give them a marker. They give you cash. You pay back the marker 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and a month, right?
Mhm.
And so the trust wasn't there to financial institutions, and that's why a lot of Black people carried their own money. Fast forward to today, or even today, there's a lot of resentment for Blacks to trust financial systems. They had a kid they had a rapper that went that went, sold a boat, and he went to cash a check for $3,000. They called the police. They had another kid in Minnesota that go there and go to cash a check. They called the police on him because they said it was stolen. Again, they had the producer in Atlanta of a movie producer who's worth, I don't know, $10-20 million, went to cash a check. They called the police on him because he said, don't count the money in front of everybody else. He needed 20,000.
Yeah. Now, and I've seen these, and see, that's and it puts me to what I was going to bring up. There's a book, and I was telling anybody to read. There's a book called Black Like Me.
We read that at Ohio State, and I'm going to tell you, I have a degree in criminal justice and a master's in public policy. We had to read that book my senior year, and I wrote a thing on policing. And I've worked, I have Jim Jordan coming on our show. I've had congressmen. I've dealt with congressmen. I've wrote, position papers for them. Scored bills. One of the problems that we have is we don't have a unified message in the community. If you take a look at, and me and Richie have talked about this. You couldn't invade Tennessee with a Marine Corps division. I dare you. I fucking double dare you to try and invade Tennessee with a Marine Corps division. Because those boys in the holler be like, imagine, you know, if the Chinese went to Tennessee, North Alabama, Mississippi, Cooter and them would be like, no. We saw too many Chinese guys that are alive. We got to unalive all of them. Where the fuck would you guys been? Right?
Yeah.
You know, and so we don't have a unified message. As a result, we don't have unified policing. We don't have unified policy. We don't have any of that. And then, so how do you then deal with that in infrastructure?
Let me ask you a question, President. How do you feel when most military vets have been to other countries to fight tyranny? Because to my understanding, we're the hand of God when we're there, but then when we come back and face it, now you have to live around the stuff that you was fighting abroad and telling you shut up and deal with it. Now we have depression that sets in to where we have 44 veterans committing suicide, but we have police don't have no many hours like y'all have, that's been given a gun and a badge to say, I got authority over you.
We don't like it.
No. The flat pisses off. I guarantee you.
I'm going to tell you this, and Richie, I wish we could back in, and you could do this today. You go to any Friday night or Saturday night in the barracks, any Friday night, you're going to see the Latinos hanging out with the rednecks, with the blacks from New York City. You're gonna see them do the cha-cha slide while they're sitting there playing Hank Williams, Country Boy Can't Survive, drinking Mad Dog and going, you know what? Where the white women at? And I'm gonna tell you this. This is why veterans get along with each other. I've got a truck, you know, I had a battle buddy, right? Your battle buddy's the guy that
Right.
My battle buddy was from Alabama, from a town named Dothan. And if you looked up a Southern black person, you would see him, you would see Boxton. That was him. And so you're in the military, they teach you to work together. We don't have the equivalent. We don't have the equivalent in society.
Absolutely. We don't. We got a couple terms in the military. It says we're all green.
Now,
they don't care about the color of your skin. It's what you're wearing. We're all green.
But
we all bleed red.
I'm glad you're saying this. It's because to back up what you're saying, President Pardos and Richie, head producer of WO, me and Big Hank, when we first got with this, we didn't want it to be where it's just a conversation with homies and stuff like that.
I like Big Hank.
We wanted to be able to even talk to the Proud Boys or KKK member and stuff, because we, everybody has their point of view. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes if you look at us, I want you to be able to say, oh, what they gonna be talking about, because we could have talked about nudity, we could have been talking about prostitution, hoe banging, but we want to be where we tackle conversations that other people kind of find it hard to talk.
Right. And it's not a confrontation, it's a conversation.
We've been saying this now for 5 years.
Yes, sir.
And Big Hank, when we came up with this. Yes, and sir. Because sometimes, like you said, President Pardos, is like the police in different areas. How they orchestrate in different situations. When, like he said, there is no bloods in Long Beach, but it doesn't prevent me from going down to Inglewood or to South Central or anything like that, because one, I don't fear no man, I only fear God, because he can destroy my body and soul. The thing is that I cry out about is that when I totally agree that there's certain police, okay, traffic stops should not be warrant for murder.
Right, should not end in murders. No way, man.
I've asked this survey, this question all across the U.S. Anybody who listens to me, tell me one time you went to traffic court for suspended driver's license or tailgate, whatever, and you got some days, you got 2 or 3 years in prison, or you got the death penalty. It doesn't exist. That means that training is said, I'm gonna put that to the side. These police officers, people say, oh, these police officers, Scorpions, wasn't trained. Well, the captain of the police encouraged that because she did the same thing in Texas.
Right.
Ran a unit.
I think when you talk about training, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, but they ran a unit to beat down these guys. It's stated. Look, they knew how to cover up their camera.
Right.
And then make instant windows of like, oh, he ain't cooperating. He ain't cooperating. If it wasn't the grace of God to show the other camera from the store, you see what I'm saying? It sounds like he was resisting arrest and he's taking a butt whooping from their cameras.
There's right training and there's wrong training. Okay.
It's when people don't care about training.
That's right. First part of that video.
These are murderers.
You're not seeing the same video, okay? And one video, when it had him, when the cop was walking down the side, he was yelling at him, just pulled him over, was already yelling at him, cussing at him. Why? Why was he in a bad mood over a traffic stop? And why?
Well, and you guys talk about training, man. Them dudes was breathing so hard on there, man. They couldn't have been training for nothing before just to beat people up because they was not in shape. They didn't. I'm talking about for real, man. They couldn't find their glasses. They couldn't find their air. They couldn't find their breath.
Couldn't find nothing, man.
And he's screaming for his mother, who is 2 houses down from this situation.
Yeah.
And like I heard Stephen A. Smith said, they knew where he lived.
Dude.
They didn't want him to scream for his mom because all the people gonna come out.
They knew where he lived when they pulled him over.
Because President Pardos, what if you saw that was your son?
The Tyree situation was different because, like you said, the police officer Tyree was sleeping with the police officer's girlfriend, and that caused a lot of problems.
I can see that on the thing. Now that really makes it, instead of a 2nd-degree murder, then that's 1st-degree murder.
That's premeditated.
Because you're using your task force to help you fight a crime.
Now,
can I ask y'all a question? Let me ask you a question, Richie, before you. Do you feel that even if it's that one guy who had a little personal vendetta, so be it, do all 5 of them and the EMTs are guilty of murder?
Yes.
Yes. I thought you were going somewhere else.
Do you feel that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. And I'll tell you something else. You need to add to that. I think
I'm going to keep my point because I got a reason I asked that. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I think of a cop who's trained and paid to uphold the law. I think if they break the law, it should be double penalty.
I totally agree.
Yeah, me too.
Because they took an oath to uphold the law. People on the streets ain't took no oath to uphold the law. Yeah. You did.
Here's part of the problem that we need to, and because I've got to jump off of here in a few minutes, but I want to make a couple points. And me and Richie have talked about this before. There's a couple solutions to stop what is going on. Number one, the first thing you need to do is you need to have no civil seizure without a conviction. That would fix part of it. Number two, if it's equipment violations, you can't pull somebody over.
Thank you.
Flag them and ticket them. We have the technology to do it. We have,
send it to them in the mail.
Send them in the mail. Number three is that here's another solution is we take away one of the mechanics when you stop somebody from a ticket. Hi, my name is Officer Pardos. My badge number is 1531. The reason I pulled you over today was for this, this, and this. At that point, you have to give them a reason why you pulled them over. And you have to identify yourself, because what's happening is people, and the final one, which would stop a lot of this, is absent of a felony execution of a crime. You cannot charge anyone with resisting arrest absent of a warrant or a felony direct indictment. Now, I'm gonna point something out, Roy and Hank, and I want you to. There's a thing in policing called direct indictment. If I'm a police officer and I see you commit a crime, and I see you, with possession of, let's say, Pablo Escobar cocaine levels, you're holding a key of cocaine, that is called a direct indictment. I'm not going to the grand jury to indict you. You committed a crime. It's called a direct indictment. At that point, if you resist arrest, then that can be charged. But if I pull you over for a ticket, for a traffic ticket, or your headlamp is out, and I charge you with resisting arrest because you're not, no, that you don't do that. And in order for that to happen, we have to have an agreement between the prosecution, our government, the police, and everybody to do the same.
Change up the prosecutors. It seems like Shapiro's are always prosecutors around the U.S. They don't change it up. But one real quick before you go, President Pardos.
97% of all prosecutors in the United States are white. Do you know that?
Yeah, they named Shapiro's or something, Rosenbaugh's and all them.
Yeah.
Hey, but let me ask you a question. Y'all just all made a statement that even though it's that one dude was persecuted, had personal vendetta, all 5 and the EMTs is accessory to murder. Now, why isn't it the same with the insurrectionists? You got 5 on murdered men, chemical sprayed and everything, and I kept saying, why aren't they being prosecuted with accessory to murder?
Who?
In California, I don't know how they do in Washington, D.C., but if you in another city.
I missed something that you said. Hey, Roy, forgive me for what you were saying. Can you start again?
Yeah, just real quick. I know you have to go and.
I understand, but I want to address what you said. But I didn't miss the insurrection.
We were saying that, because I always listen what everyone's saying. I take it in, and we was talking about how the policing in different scenarios, and I always empathize by putting myself in other people's shoes. Right. One of the things I noticed that we all agreed upon that the 5 police officers, even though one had a personal vendetta, all 5 in the 3 EMTs, which is basically, they're all black except for the one EMT, should be accessory to murder. Correct. My thing was, I've been saying this about the insurrectionists. If you went across that line where you know that there was dead bodies there, you still should be accused of accessory to murder, because I don't know how they do it in Washington, D.C., but in California, I've seen this. Say for Big Hank and you associate with us 3 together and everything, and I'm way in another city, and say Cynthia gets heated and shoot up a couple of people. They come and arrest me and Big Hank as well as not being there for what, Big Hank?
For accessory.
Accessory to murder. Now we have, but I don't understand the difference of charges when 5 and 3 MTs are all accessory to murder, but none of the insurrectionists is. That baffles me. That's where I see a difference in police.
Let me ask you a question. Can you be more specific about the insurrectionists? Which ones of the insurrectionists?
The ones that went across that line where those dead police officers were. Everybody who went across that line was on them steps, past that police line, I felt should be, if it was 1,000 of them, you should be accessory to murder.
That's the proximity clause. I'd have to research it more. I can't give you an honest question. I can't give you maybe maybe we reconvene at another time and go over that one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because in California, they would do it by association. They'd have you accessory to murder. You're not even in the city or the state.
That could be that could be that's a worthwhile, what you call it. I mean, that is a question to be asked, because again, if you are, I can't answer that without seeing, the thing. I mean, because I watched the tape on. I would have to research that. I'm not going to make a. But here's the thing: if you violate, if you're part of the proximity, then charge them. There's case law for that. If you violated the law and you were accessory to it, then be charged. No.
I got a question. How come that wasn't done the same? They did the 5 blacks and then the EMTs. How come it wasn't done the same on the George Floyd thing? How come everybody wasn't indicted
Two different states
for murder?
That's a baffling question.
Yeah.
Because certain states, like I will say this, I'll answer this about Minnesota. Not all states have the felony murder law, and a felony murder is this. And Richie, I think me and you did one of our shows with Justin a few years ago about this.
Mm-hmm.
Committing a felony, right? If you're a getaway driver, and let's say me and Richie decide to go rob the Bank of America, I decide I'm in the bank. I get, Richie's the getaway driver, and I start shooting up the bank, and 2 tellers die, and I get in the car, and they, Richie can be charged with murder because even though I committed it.
Yeah.
Not all states have the felony murder law. California does. I do not know if Minnesota does. Ohio does.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've got to then understand if there's the proximity law, and number 2, there's the felony murder law, and those aren't easy laws to get in front of a jury to convict.
That's true too.
President, I know that you're busy, and I would love to have you come back on again. We're at the top of the hour, even over the hour. We got to have you back in. We got to be able to see your vision too, because your insights was deep. I just want to.
One final question for you, Roy and Hank. Who you got on Sunday?
Hey, I'm finna get you with this one, President Pardos. I got the black quarterback. I'm gonna get you on that one, man.
Hey, you put me on the spot with that one because I paid up some bets. See, I'm a Raiders fan.
You did pay.
And Tafu that I would take my bets, but I bet that the Raiders was going to have a better season than they did. Did I lose?
Yes, you did. Yes, we did. We did. We lost on that one, bro.
But,
President Pardos, it was a pleasure, man. From Hank Norman to you, man. I was once USC's all-time leading receiver, man. So I just want to say thank you, and we appreciate you for coming on.
What year were you there?
I was there from 82 to 86. We run the Rose Bowl in 85. We beat Ohio State 20-17.
Let me tell you this, Hank.
Yeah.
At that game, I was in the Marine Corps, and I wrestled and coached at Ohio State.
Oh.
If I'd have known one damn point, if I'd have known that you guys were going to flag in the third quarter, I got all y'all. You wouldn't have made it out the damn tunnel.
Hey, we got the real President Pardos in now.
I was at that game. I was in the Marine Corps at the time.
Yeah.
I went out there. They got our ticket. I had to be, and I got a chance to go down on the field. Now,
wow.
I wrestled at Ohio State from 88 to 93 and coached there.
Wow. That's a beautiful thing, man. It's a small world, man. We was on the same field together.
Yeah. Let me tell you about this, Roy. During the scab year my cousin played for the Raiders. And during the scab year, I went out as a snap center for 10 days, and my command would not let me play in the games because they thought I was going to get hurt, and they had no mechanism at the time.
For the Raiders?
For the Raiders.
Oh, my goodness.
Guess who I'll tell you who my cousin is. Ted Hendricks, the Stork.
Wow. That's a beautiful thing, man. Ted Hendricks was a clothes hanger man.
You know where he was born?
Where?
Guatemala.
Wow, that's crazy.
Oh, life's just a big circle, isn't it, gentlemen?
That's crazy.
Hey, check
Life
this
is a big
out.
circle.
I want to tell everybody thank them, especially from the veteran radio syndicate and stuff. I see why Mr. Pardos is the president.
Yeah,
So,
we do.
He owns it. He owns it. He owns it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Very wise. Glad that y'all supported him. Keep supporting him. He's supporting us. Thank you, Richie King, for being on, the producer.
I have to leave. Gentlemen, thank you so much. You guys are awesome. And we'll catch you later. Cynthia, it's a pleasure. Roy and Hank, we'll talk later.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
God bless.
George.
And you know, we had segments, but we were so fascinated with President Pardos, because I'm gonna say this. I know of the VRS and some of their listeners come in and join with us. But I learned some stuff today, and that's the one thing that I pride our show about. We laugh, we say some goofy stuff, and what I do, and But
hey, that Silver Caesar thing was a mind blower.
Oh, yeah. You'd be surprised, Hank, if you really dive into some of that crap. How bad they're humping the citizens of this country.
Crazy, man. That's
when I say law,
they committing crimes. They committing crimes, man.
Yeah. When I say law, I don't just mean the police. I mean the prosecution, the judges, the court system,
yeah,
the whole damn
all
thing.
of it.
It's crooked.
They all a part of it. Yep. They all a part of it.
Hey,
I mean,
now,
30. Go ahead.
No, go. What was you saying, Richard?
I was going to say, I've been preaching this for about 36 years now. When I was 17 years old, I had a 1969 Pontiac GTO. Badass car. I had no business with it. Okay, as a teenager.
That was the judge. They called that the judge, didn't they?
Yeah. She was fast. I had no business with it. Anyway,
my uncle had one.
I was hot rodding around. I was spinning the tires. Okay. 5 cops pulled me over. Right. Yeah. Talking about, they see my afro and they say, "Oh, you're a piece of shit. You're from the King family. You rednecks." And then already start running their mouths. Okay. Yeah. I'm 16 years old. You talk shit to me, I'm gonna talk back. I don't know anybody. I wasn't a man yet.
Yeah.
And everything was going fine until one of them slapped me.
Oh, shit.
Okay, one of the cops slapped me. Well, my uncle was like, "Hey, man, they put their hands on you. They're fair game." So I started fighting them. It took 5 cops to arrest me that night. They tasered me twice. They had them old ass tasers, the crank style. You remember the old ass piece of shit?
Well, see, they didn't hit you with that flashlight.
Well, no, I couldn't get it out because I done dropped them. Okay,
yeah.
I had them on their backs. And finally, they dogpiled me, and then they roughed me up pretty good. And my uncles had to go down in there. Of course, you didn't want them coming down there at that age. Them guys are crazy.
You had all types of lumps on your head.
Yeah, I did. And the judge said, "Wait a minute." The judge said, "Who read him his rights?" And they're all like, he said, yeah. "I got a minor in here. No one read his rights, and you beat him up." Mr. King, how fast can you get out of here? Like,
yeah,
gone. My shadow looking for me.
Yeah,
and because I had darker melanin in my skin, being part Indian, and an afro, they thought something totally different.
Yeah,
and they, just the way they perceive me. That's been
well,
going
they
on
figured
forever.
it out before they got to the station, because ain't no one asked me, have you been read your Miranda rights?
Right.
Yeah, not one of them. Not one of
them. And you should have been able to sue him right then and there.
Yeah. Well, my grandfather, God rest his soul, 93-year-old veteran when he died. He didn't believe in suing nobody. He said everything would come back around.
All right.
Me, I'm like, bullshit. I need some new tires for my car, Grandpa. He's like, "No, we don't do that." He said, "You'll be honored later on in life."
All right.
Maybe it wasn't a wise decision. I don't know. That's what he said, and he's a patriarch, so we listened to him.
That's right. If you was gonna cost him some money, you might about lose your life.
Well, I tell you something.
You start messing with their money.
He did tell me before he died. He says, "I need you to quit all the fighting." He said the best way to hit a man who does you wrong is in his pocketbook.
There you go.
He said that hurts worse than hitting somebody in the nose any day of the week.
Yes, sir.
He's a very wise man. Wish I learned.
Before we get off, there was one more subject about police brutality. I want to bring this up. I was going to save it toward the end.
Go ahead.
A black dude with stumps. Both his legs has been amputated. Was just shot by 3 police officers in Baldwin Park. Now, the tripped out part to me, it was already sad and sickening. But the part that got to me, it's this one news article said another cop drove up and next thing you know, they was in a hot pursuit.
Dukes of Hazzard, Roscoe P. Coltrane.
No,
listen, man. I saw the same thing The coldest part was how the little stubby dude stabbed the nigga that could run with long legs. He stabbed somebody that had long legs that could run from him, but he let the little stubby dude come up and stab him, and then he took off running. I'm like, you should have ran before that.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. The other guy, so okay, so the guy got stumps for one. And when the police said, when the reporter said, hot pursuit. I'm like, how fast can a person be going?
You seen him when he was, because he was going, he was trying to get away. He was
6 inches in a minute. I'm not trying to be funny, but it kind of, you know what I started thinking about? The starfish on SquarePants. SpongeBob. You ever seen his friend Patrick?
Patrick, yeah.
That's the first thing I thought. Is that you running on starfish legs? No.
When you say that, I think of Cat Williams, little tink tink.
It's
Hey, what's the trip? He had a wheelchair, but he jumped out the wheelchair and took off running.
Yeah, and they said they was in hot pursuit.
Like you should have stayed in the wheelchair.
What I'm saying. It seemed like you a Godfather.
Hot pursuit. What he had to power walk
on the downhill. If you got on the downhill.
Shit. That was hilarious. That was hilarious this morning on the news, and I watched it on the news. See him stab somebody that can run away from you.
So, how many times did it shoot him? Not like it matters, but I mean,
8 times.
That's too many. Whatever. What? For what? What could he do?
Because they said he had a foot-long butcher knife.
Okay, but it's a knife.
So what? It's gonna take him 3 days to get to you. You go back up faster than he can run.
Dude don't have no legs. This thing, he probably had a stride like Usain Bolt, but now it's cut down. Okay.
He just had lost his legs too. He just had lost his legs, man.
I don't deal with him. I'm gonna be like, now stop now. You better stop.
Hank, are you recording this? This is comedy gold right here. Okay.
Take a stick and push him down.
You know, if he's in his, you know what Typhoon always said? If he's in a wheelchair, just put your foot out. Where are you going?
Yeah, you get a stick. They shoot him.
Man, they could have kept him at bay with their baton. Like, stay back, man. Get back. Get back, little man. Get back, little man. Yeah. Get back.
I'll let him run his nose. Take his wheelchair and keep pushing, and he's gonna keep running.
Man, they need to go under the jail for that, man. That's wrong.
They do. Come on, man. I'd have walked up like I could do my grandson, get out of control, pick him up.
Give me this damn knife, man. What's wrong with you? Give me this knife, man.
See, that's what I'm saying. They're not trained. They're not trained. 8 shots. I shoot a deer with 1 shot. 8
That's
shots?
how they feel about humanity. Those who's watching the show, I'm Roy Anthony.
Big Hank. Big Hank, Cynthia Joi.
Cynthia Joi.
Her baby, one of her sons is sick.
What?
And
sorry about that.
He's not feeling good, and so she's that mom.
We praying for him. We praying for him, Cynthia. You already know.
Appreciate you.
You know I got
the head producer, creator of WO, Richie King, came in with our special guest, President
Redneck Pimp.
Yeah. Now, what I love is that how we can all come together and talk. We laughed. We got serious about subjects and stuff. And I love that George Pardos read that book called
Black Like Me. I read it too.
Black Like Me. Oh, and wait a minute. Before I get off.
Oh, yeah, well, George Pardos, he's a very, very intelligent man. He researches everything. Before he opens his mouth, he'll research a topic.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to tell you, this is a wonderful book. This is a wonderful book.
What's the title?
This is Fight Lives in the Heart of the Survivor. I'm telling you, I always it's like a tongue twister because I sure we want to say fight lives.
You had us, man. We was like, we finna fight lives. Where we going? Where we gonna fight lives at?
It's in the heart of the survivor. If you're going to survive, you're going to have a fight in your life, in your heart.
Fight lives in your heart.
It's going to live in your heart to survive.
That's right.
But please go on Amazon.
Yes.
I have to wait till it comes out in DVD.
You want an audio? You have to make an audio book now.
I'm gonna read it on Kindle. It reads it.
I
all
can't do that audio book stuff because I don't like the pauses in the comments. Just read what it says. All these stopping. Yeah. But we're gonna get up out of here.
Yes,
now everybody who does watch the show know that I'm gonna let you know is that we have 4 segments now. We're going to be where the first 20 parts is today's news topic. The next segment will be the Cynthia Joi is going to be bringing about health and mental health. We're going to get on those subjects. And then Big Hank is going to be about sports, certain things in sports. And I myself have got my hands up. I just want a good game Sunday.
Yeah. We see you Thursday though.
Yeah. I'm saying it's Sunday. The game, the Super Bowl game. I think it's Sunday, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I love Mahomes, but I just don't like the Chiefs organization because the Washington Redskins had to change their names. The
and you know what?
Indians had to change their names.
My people were pissed by that.
Chiefs just push it in your face.
Hey, but the Florida Seminoles still do it too.
Well, they say those are college students that still got to learn something. These are grown
men. They're grown men.
Hey,
listen, being Indian on here, I can tell you, my tribe didn't want that. We didn't want all that change. We're a proud culture. Why not have a mascot to say how proud you are?
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah. It took the little bitty Indian group to get that done. That's why.
That's another subject we want to have too.
I still call them Washington Redskins. And I can't. What are they going to do? Take my card?
Yeah, we're going to have a segment about that. I was going to say because we got a lot of Native Americans in my family, and they called us Blackfoots. That's what I was understanding.
You know how Blackfoot come about, don't you? It's the escaped slaves. When they enslaved, they come up in the tribe. Well, we couldn't. They couldn't bring them in their own tribe. They couldn't bring them into a tribe because it wasn't blood. So they just created your own tribe called the Blackfoot tribe.
Well, that's on another subject. I don't want you to go deep into it, Richie. I don't want you to go deep into it because that's another. We're going to have you on it because I'm doing that. We getting out of here, y'all.
Peace.
God bless you.
Before we leave, I just want to make some corrections. The new numbers come out about suicide. Okay, the veterans are still at 22. However, now the active duty military is now part of that, which gives 45 a day.
Oh, okay.
45 a day. They got it broke down in segments. Who the hell breaks suicide down in segments? Bunch of sick asses. But it's 45 a day total. And they got law enforcement that are starting to come up in there now. And our teens, guys, pray for your teens. Look out for them. 12 teens a day commit suicide.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
They're almost there. Life loves them. Anyway, Roy, thank you for having me on, brother. Appreciate it.
Okay, for sure, bro.
And as I say in my native tongue, don't a dog hoy.
Okay, peace out. And now you, Miss Cynthia Joi, what you got to say, dear lady?
Nothing. You know how I do. I got to just take care of my baby. So my mind is everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
I appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Stay strong. Stay up. Never forget what you're fighting for. Let nothing stop you from your shine. Keep going forward. When you're down, in nowhere else to go but up.
You heard it.
Get that book. Fight lives in the heart of a survivor. Because that's what all
you make it sound better. It seemed like I got to pause. Fight lives.
Man, you know you can't read either.
All right. God bless. I'm out.
Holla back.
And every Thursday. Y'all tap in. This thing on? Can you hear me? Roy Show is the spot to be, baby. Hey, tune in. It's the hottest show, homie, on the West Coast. The Roy Anthony Show. It's the hottest show, homie, on the West Coast. The Roy Anthony Show. It's the hottest show, homie, on the West Coast. The Roy Anthony Show. And it's featuring the homie Big Hank.
And Cynthia Joi.
It's the hottest show, homie, on the West Coast. The Roy Anthony Show. It's the hottest show, homie, on the West Coast. The Roy